Hello there, fellas and ladies, welcome back to Goodfellas Garage. Today I'm going to finally finish flushing all the fluids in this car. I'm going to flush the coolant, which is really clean in this vehicle, but I'm going to do it anyway so I know that all the fluids are done. It's really easy, it takes about half an hour. I'll show you how I do that. Also, I'm going to finally change the headlights. They've been sitting in the trunk of the car for weeks and I haven't gotten to it, but I'm gonna change the headlights and the side markers today. And also I need to fix the horn in this car. It is not working. It's a former police car, so they cut some wires somewhere, so I gotta figure that out and fix the horn because it's very difficult to drive in South Florida without a working horn. So without further ado, let's get to it. Alright, so let's open up these boxes and see what we got. These are brand new OEM headlights from Ford, and they were 60 bucks a piece. They probably don't come with bulbs, so that's why they're 60 bucks. Yep, no light bulbs, of course. Cheap Ford. All right, so let's change them out. And if in case you're wondering, this is a brand new Michelin tire that my wife ruined by putting a nail right in the sidewall. Fantastic. Okay, so changing these headlights is probably the easiest job on the planet because Ford, in their infinite wisdom, designed these cars for, I guess, livery and police service, so the parts are easy to swap. There's no bolts, there's no screws, there's nothing. All you have to do is pull two tabs, one tab here and one tab there, and the headlight just comes out. So I'm going to remove this plastic piece so it's easier for me to get access, because I'm going to be removing side markers as well. They're held with one nut over there and one screw here. That's it. The nut got rusted onto the stud, so the entire stud came out of the side marker, and the same thing happened on the other side, so a 5-minute job turned into a 45-minute job. Here's the final result. The new headlights and the new side markers completely transform the front end of the car. It looks absolutely brand new, and I think it's money well spent. So one of the things that doesn't work in this car is the horn, and from dealing with police cars in the past, I know that they cut a wire somewhere because they used the speaker for the horn as their PA system. So in this particular car, as I mentioned in my last video, whoever removed the equipment, they just cut a bunch of wires, and I see a bunch of cut wires everywhere. So I'm trying to figure out what they cut and where, so I can reattach these wires so I can get a working horn, because it's very difficult to drive in South Florida without a horn. And I'm sorry I already took some of the panels off because it's early in the morning and I only have a couple hours of shade in this spot before global warming starts, so I need to be mindful of that. So there's a box right here. Let me show you. There's a box right here. So this is aftermarket. So I don't know if this is a PA system or one of those shift interlock boxes that allows the officer to leave the car running by probably pressing this button and preventing a potential thief from shifting into drive. So there's a lot of wires here, so I gotta I gotta take this off and figure out what they did here. And the reason I know you can tell if something is not factory is, factory doesn't attach things with zip ties, and then there's also a fused, there's a fuse like mid wire, so factories don't do that. So, and there's a ground wire here that's also not factory. So let's trace these wires. Let me show you something interesting. I just love how they spliced into factory wiring. They just did Mr. Twisty and then some electrical tape on top. These are professionals. So I'm gonna remove that, I'm gonna clean it up, and of course, since I'm a professional, I'm gonna use duct tape. But for now, later I will remove the duct tape and I put some sleeves, but again, I'm on a time crunch, so for now, I'm gonna removing all this crap here. I think this is the interlock box, but I'm not sure. So there's a lot of wires that go all the way inside the dash, and then there are wires going into the door. I cut them for now. I'll remove the door panel later to see. I think it might be going to the door, the DDM, door lock module, whatnot. So let's see. Alrighty fellas, so I finally figured this out. I have taken pretty much the entire interior apart, but this is where they cut it. So even though these two blue wires look slightly different, one is thicker than the other, but if you connect these two together, we have horn. So and if I ground this wire, so this is the horn wire. So this car has already, I've been at it for about 3 hours, so this car has already turned into a volcano crater. So I'm boiling inside. I'm just gonna do a Mr. Twisty here, and then I'll solder it later when I'm in a cooler place. All right, but at least I got the horn working. Alrighty, so here's how we do a coolant flush garden hose edition. So this is the front of the car, obviously. Turn your wheels all the way to the right, and you can see right there this yellow thing. It's your radiator drain plug. Okay, now you can undo this in two ways. You can put a socket on it, but they usually break. Ford, again, knew all their flaws. As you can see, this is a broken one from an old car I kept because I knew I was going to become a YouTube sensation, so I can show this in the future. So Ford, knowing their flaws, knowing that all their crap breaks, they also included a hole inside for a 8mm Allen. So you can stick that in there and undo the radiator drain. So that's the first step. So put a pan underneath to catch all the coolant and undo the radiator. So what I did already, I have warmed up the car so it's hot. Make sure you wear a glove so you don't burn yourself. Okay, that's step number one. Alrighty, so now that I drained the radiator, put the plug back in and then remove this upper radiator hose and point it downward. Then stick a garden hose into the radiator and fill it up with water. Let the water run. Now stick a garden hose in there and then go start the engine. You do not need to run the heater because most people think that you need to turn the heater on to get the flow through the heater core, but you don't. There's constant coolant flow through the heater core. Let the car run for about 10-15 minutes, and after that, take the garden hose out and look at the upper radiator hose.
A few minutes later.
Once you see clear water coming out, that means everything has been flushed and it's clean. Now the radiator is full of water. Drain it again, okay? Take the plug out. put a little bit of dielectric grease on the rubber O-ring on the drain plug. Do not over tighten these drain plugs. They break very easily, so all you need is just a little bit of force. Just a tiny bit of force, and that's good enough. It will stay there forever. It'll never come off. Reattach the upper radiator hose. Do not over tighten the clamps. It looks like all the coolant hoses in this car have been replaced previously. They all look brand new, and somebody already replaced all the factory clamps with those worm style clamps. After you reattach the upper radiator hose, it's time to fill up this car with coolant. Keep in mind that you already have about 2 gallons of water in the engine, so all you need now is approximately 2 gallons of coolant to fill up through the expansion tank. This car takes Motorcraft Premium Gold. I purchased 2 gallons from the dealer. Just put them in there and then start the car and let it run with the cap off. Let the car idle for about 15 minutes with the cap off to make sure that all the air bubbles are out. Top off with coolant as necessary. After all the air bubbles are out, put the cap back on and then check the fluid again the next morning when the car is cold. Finally, the last job that needs to be done on this car is the air filter, which is very easy. The old filter was pretty clean, but I replaced it anyways. Well, fellas, I am all done. I have changed all the fluids in this car, changed every single filter that this car had, changed the headlights, the side markers, it looks beautiful, fixed the horn, changed the shocks, addressed all the mechanical issues at this point that this car had. And all done here, except the only thing left is interior work. As you saw in the first video when I purchased this car, the interior has a lot of stains and it needs a lot of cleaning. There's still a lot of police leftover wiring that's in the car that I gotta take out, but that's gonna be in the next video, so stay tuned for that. If you liked this video, please subscribe, like, share. Thanks. Bye.